This is what was raining down on people attending an event tonight at the Gaylord National Hotel and Convention Center. People at Katsucon, a 3-day multicultural cosplay and anime convention at the National Harbor, tell us that a pipe burst, sending what they say is sewage onto guests and artists' work.
Let's not even waste any time. There were multiple water-related incidents during this weekend. The staff was ruder than ever. Some of the rumors are absolutely insane. Katsucon 2025 was not good. Before we get into everything that happened over the span of 3 to 4 days, hi, my name is Ezra Faye. I'm a professional makeup artist, a cosplayer, and do not let looks deceive you. I am very sick right now. As tradition states, I get sick every year after Katsucon, so hopefully I'm doing a good job hiding it, but I did not want to waste any time on making this video. My main source for most of this information is a Facebook group and Reddit, so, take any kind of alleged claims with a grain of salt. I believe that this Katsucon is going down in the Hall of Fame for all of the wrong reasons. So this is only my 4th ever Katsucon, and I'm sure I'm gonna have some tenured Katsucon veteran come in the comments and be like, oh, it's been way worse when I went back in the early okay, I don't care. Okay, I'm sorry I couldn't go to Katsucon when I was 7 years old. I just couldn't. In the 4 years that I have gone, this one was absolutely trash. I love Katsucon. Katsucon is my favorite convention, if not my favorite part of the entire year. So I'm sure you can imagine my disappointment as events continued to unfold throughout the weekend, and there was just a general bad vibe in the air. So it all started off on Wednesday. I was so excited. I woke up at 6 in the morning because we always like to go up a day or two early to do other stuff in the area. I immediately see that I have a DM from someone telling me that there is contaminated water in the area, that the water's not safe to drink in, not safe to shower in, brush your teeth, anything that you need water for, forget it. There was a water line that broke in the Prince George County area, which means the National Harbor and all of the surrounding areas, hotels, all of that stuff were affected. The whole area was under a boil water advisory. So that was the first omen for the weekend was great, we don't have drinkable water. Thankfully, the boil water advisory was lifted at around 4 p.m. the same day that the advisory was set. Of course, I know there were definitely people that were skeptical about it, and rightfully so, because we do not need people going down thanks to contaminated water during Katsucon weekend. I will say, and this is unrelated to the con, but massive shout out to the cosplay community in that issue. I saw so many people making sure to spread awareness. It was really nice that we were all looking out for each other, so bonus points for the cosplay community. Now, we always stay at the MGM National Harbor. It's not in that hotel block. You actually do have to Uber. We stayed there one year when we couldn't get a spot in the Gaylord and everything on the hotel block was already taken, and that was a last resort, but we found that we actually love it. We choose to stay there every year now. The MGM is an absolutely beautiful venue. I mean, they deck it out for Chinese New Year. They have restaurants, a food court, shops, they have the casino, so there's lots of other things to do, and it is nice to be able to get away from that hotel block when you need it. Another reason why I'm so happy that we don't stay at the Gaylord, besides the never-ending craziness that you simply cannot get away from by being there, the Gaylord had this long list of rules that they were apparently giving out to people staying there. They were really doing the most, and apparently this list has been in effect for years and years and years, as I read those somewhat pretentious Katsucon veterans from years ago saying oh, well, this has been a thing. Oh, you must be new here. I don't think I like Katsucon veterans, first of all. Second of all, the rules were just a little bit insane. Things only certain amounts of people allowed in the room at a time. And I think the craziest one being, and you can pause and read this whole list because it's all very strict, but the craziest one is if you read about the alcohol and they're basically saying oh, only 1 bottle of liquor or only 1 6-pack. It's almost laughable because it's how are you possibly going to enforce that? And I'm laughing to myself thinking about it as we're carrying up a Sephora bag full of liquor to a hotel room party. These rules are just a lot of them cannot be enforced, but it was very just reading it seeming very they're trying to police it, and I'm starting to think oh, the Gaylord probably doesn't like hosting Katsucon, but it's but you are hosting it, so don't be a bitch about it, basically. Another thing that I was looking at Thursday during the day that caught me off guard was a cosplayer stating that they went down to the hotel area in the Gaylord in cosplay, and they were basically told, like, you can't be here until Friday. Now, we know that, like, yeah, it's pretty obvious that you're cosplaying, but the hotel staff can't just be like, you're cosplaying, go change, because it's like, who are you to say this person doesn't dress like this every single day? So I don't know if that was actually true or not, but it was a little weird. And I also saw that they were trying really hard to like make it so that no cosplayers were allowed until Friday. And again, it's like, how are you going to enforce that? Because you're going to have all these people coming for last minute badge pickup and just to hang out, and they're all going to be in cosplay, and you simply cannot stop every single cosplayer be like, oh, no cosplay, no Katsucon until tomorrow. Like, there was no way. We went Thursday night. I was a little nervous when we went Thursday night that we were going to get turned away, but there were just so many people there. Like, it was like a regular Thursday night at Katsucon. Another thing that was weird to me, at least when I ordered my badge, probably in like September is when I think I bought my badge, there was no option for in-person pickup. Every year that I've gone to Katsu, I always buy the ticket online and then go pick up the physical badge in person. It was a $15 shipping fee for the badge, and I've always been able to opt out of it, and this year there was no way to opt out of it. So that was a little frustrating, especially when like there were still people who could go in person and buy a badge on Thursday. Very weird. Can we take a moment to talk about how hideous the badges were this year? So first of all, it was Katsucon's 30th anniversary, and I guess the theme was Japanese horror, which first of all, like nowhere in the con was it reflected like, oh, it's Japanese horror theme this year. You've got 30th anniversary and you've got something really cool like Japanese horror, and they just picked the ugliest thing to slap on that badge. Like, I'm sorry to whoever the artist was, but that was so ugly. Like, of all of the things you could have done some really cool, ornate looking like yokai or something, and you chose the fucking like spider cow. And of course, like, you see, I tried to like yassify mine a little bit because I was just like, I don't want to, ew. You have to like think like a panel of people like sat down and agreed on that. And we're like, you know what really reflects not only our 30th anniversary, but this cool theme too? The spider cow. Horrendous. The next thing that happened before the con even started was all of these rumors started floating around that there was going to be no gazebo. And of course, there were some like really convincing like AI edited looking pictures of like, oh, the gazebo's gone. But I think they were saying like it's due to like structural errors or something. Really weird, really random rumor. I can confirm the gazebo was there and alive. There were even some like mini gazebos that were super cute. Oh, and another thing too, our friends who were rooming with us, they got the VIP passes. And it was so weird because they sent us on like a wild goose chase to get them. So we had to go and stand in the registration line to get their pass. And then you would think like, okay, here's your VIP pass, enjoy the con. No, it's like they had to go there and then get sent somewhere else to pick up the rest of their stuff for the VIP package. I don't know if it was like the actual bag or just the merch or what, but it was not all in one spot. And like the spot that it was at was really hard to find. Even for my boyfriend and I, who have been there multiple years, we're like, where are we going? We did so many like circles around the convention center trying to find this room, and it was just like very off to the side, like not really clearly marked. Super weird. I also heard a lot of complaints about like just the VIP experience in general, even allegedly that VIPs were getting like denied their front of line privileges and things like that, and just like overall like not being too many perks for the price of a VIP pass. They got like a crappy water bottle and a crappy backpack, and that was it. And I don't know how much it was, but I can imagine not worth it. So we finally made it to Friday because we're not even in the actual con yet. We got there, and the first thing that we did was get in line for the artist alley. So we're in this really long line, and of course, you know, we've got like volunteers screaming at us the whole time, and we're like, bro, like it's Friday morning, like you might want to save that energy. But the line finally starts moving, right? The way that they had it set up was that once you got to like the middle of the line, you're basically walking in a line that's also the main walkway. So you really just have to like watch the person in front of you and hope that you don't lose them. And we were lucky enough to like get caught off by some guy in like this inflatable animal suit. I don't even remember what it was right now, but like thanks to him, and we had a long piece of the line behind us, we got cut off from the line. We all ended up somehow in the vendors room line. So like it was all mixed up, and we're all standing there like, what's happening? So somehow the line, I don't know if it was like the organization or the guy in the inflatable suit, but like the line got all messed up. The volunteers had no idea what was going on. We had no idea what was going on. And I will give a kudos to the volunteers. Like they turned the situation around pretty quickly, but it was one of those minutes of like, all right, who set up the line so that we were going right in the main walkway? That doesn't seem very efficient to me. So we get in the artist alley, right? And this is my complaint with Katsucon every year, is why is the room for the artist alley like half the size of the vendor's room? Like I'm sure there's like less artists and they have smaller setups, but like they need a bigger room. They need a room like the same size of the dealer's room. And I don't care if it makes like the artist alley look more sparse. Like there is just simply not enough room in that artist alley. Every year it's like shoulder to shoulder traffic. Katsucon 2025 wins for the worst body odor I have ever smelled in my entire life. That's not really the con's fault, but I just felt like sharing it. But yeah, just shoulder to shoulder. And then my next complaint is that there was just really not a lot of good stuff in the artist alley. And that's like no like drag on the artists and their hard work, but I just felt like it wasn't as good as it was in the past few years. And I've talked about this with a couple people as well, just not really being able to find anything, or it was all just kind of like the same stuff. I saw a lot of like the same artists I've seen in the last few Katsucons that we've been to, and it's just kind of like, all right, I'm ready for something new. Most of my money usually goes in the artist alley, and I feel like I hardly got anything out of there. They need to have a rule about props in the artist alley. If they are going to shove us all into that teeny tiny room, we can't have large props. Okay, there was this guy and he had this ginormous shit on a cart, probably that wide, like so huge. It would like probably go up to my boob if I stood next to it in height. Like it was no tiny little like RC controlled something. Like this was a huge ship. That guy has been there in the past. And look, ship guy, if you're watching this, great job. You made a very excellent prop, sir. However, if you would like to show off your prop, might I suggest not the room where everyone is already shoulder to shoulder and can't walk? Please reconsider. Let's get to the real deal, the water pipe bursting. So I'm sure we've all seen it. I don't know what time it happened. I believe it was sometime in the afternoon. It happened after we had already gone back to the hotel to change for the night. Terrible thing that happened. And this was 100% on the Gaylord.
Now, we reached out to the Gaylord and they confirmed that a pipe did burst, that they have been dealing with pipe issues this week. However, they're unaware of when that problem will be fixed.
If you're having issues with leaky pipes before the con starts, do not let someone set up their table of merchandise right underneath said pipes, because that is just a disaster waiting to happen, and the disaster happened. And I don't know like what they're gonna do about it. They're probably gonna have a lawsuit on their hand. I'm only guessing because I know that the water spilled onto people. The water got into a girl's eyes. People got sick from it. That is a very traumatizing thing to happen. I mean, like artists lost hours of time and potential sales because they all had to evacuate. Like it was absolutely unacceptable. Should not have happened. I will give it to the Katsucon staff because they tried really hard to turn that situation around. I know they extended the artist alley hours, and I did end up going back in the artist alley on Sunday. It was even more cramped because there's like a whole space that they just can't use. So the main thing was everyone was saying it was poop water, okay, because it smelled like poop, like it's a pipe, like you kind of expect it to be poop water, right? I believe that was debunked, and they're saying it was dishwasher water, which, you know, like it is better than poop water, but it's still not good to have dishwasher water spill on you because you don't know what's in it. I mean, you've got food, you've got the utensils that have been in people's mouths, you've got like all this other stuff. Like that's still disgusting. That doesn't make it any better. So I really hope that there's some kind of like insurance, because I know, like, especially the artists that were directly affected and even their neighbors, some of their merchandise was probably destroyed. How are you going to compensate that? Extending the artist alley hours doesn't make up for the merchandise that they lost, and it's so hard when you're a small business too, because that stuff is not cheap to come by. I know that they post it on the website and everything, but I just do not agree with the no bags in dances policy. Now look, I get it if you have like a backpack or a massive purse, but I feel like things like fanny packs should be allowed, because I'm not even gonna beat around the bush. Like I can shove my ID in a flask in my bra if I need to. I can shove it in my platform boots if I need to. someone else might not be able to do that, and there's going to be things that people need, like they need their phones, they need their wallets, they need water bottles, like they might have other stuff on them, they might not have a hotel room or a friend that they can leave it with, and it's just doing too much. I understand like there is the concern of people like drugging anybody or something like that, but like they're so worried about controlling the alcohol thing. It's like, you are not going to control it. You cannot stop me from shoving my flask in my boot. It's one of those things that they can't control, and they need to stop trying to control so hard. They had like a whole row of like lockers you could rent to put your bags in. $15. If you think about it, you're gonna be in that rave for like an hour or two. Renting a locker for like $15 is absolutely outrageous to me. I feel like that's a very, very greedy thing. Raves were mid. I don't know. There was no amount of Pink Whitney that could get me turned in that rave. I was just kind of standing there like, I love a con rave, but I was not feeling it. Shout out to the dudes in the dance circle. Y'all were cool, but yeah, it was not that good. I think I only stayed in the rave for like maybe 2 songs on Saturday night as well, but I was just not into it. The staff was very rude this year. Ruder than usual. I've spoken about this in a previous video, but like it is to be expected that convention staff is going to be rude, and I have gone as far as to kind of take their side in a way, being like, okay, well, they're just volunteers, they're not responsible for everything that happens, like they're stressed, like people don't listen to them, like you probably wouldn't want to be volunteering anyway, so don't give them a hard time. Yeah, I still stand by that, but like at the same time, like there is no reason for like these volunteers to be so rude for no reason, or like to be on a power trip. Like, what are you on a power trip for? Like, you're not getting paid. I feel like the overall vibe was very unwelcoming at this con. Like, I did not feel like the Gaylord wanted us to be here. I did not feel like Katsu itself wanted us to be here. But it's like, I get like you might be trying to be a family con, but you are, whether you want it to be or not, a party con. You are a con where people come and they're going to wear their most revealing cosplays, and it's just like you can try to police it, but you can't police it. And they were also just really weird about like places that they know people like to hang out. They were very strict about photography this year. They were very strict about where you could sit this year. And I know like even in like popular photo spots, there were signs, no tripods, no sitting, like all of this other stuff. It just felt like I was like on a school trip, like being yelled at by like the teachers. I didn't feel like they wanted us to be there at all. And I get it, like on one hand, like there are some places like you shouldn't sit, and there are some places where you probably shouldn't set up a tripod, but there are places that you should be able to. And especially when there's nowhere to sit at that con, usually in general, like Lord forgive me for sitting on one of those, if you went, you know, like on the gazebo floor, like those like square things, and they got the trees coming out of them. Forgive me for sitting on the ledge of that. It's not like I'm going to like fall off and fall onto another floor. Like it's pretty safe, I feel like. So forgive me for wanting to take a moment of respite when there is literally nowhere else to sit. And then another thing that I absolutely hated was right on the gazebo floor. If this is how you want to spend your con that way. But I feel like there's people who just go there and all they do is hang out on the gazebo floor, and I'm like thinking like, you know, like there's other stuff to do here. We'll get into that, but it's just like all they do is hang out. And one of the worst things about it, they had a lot of it roped off, so there was only like a very like narrow way you could get into the gazebo floor. There was this whole square of the gazebo floor that was like blocked off every time I went there, and it was just like someone blasting K-pop, and then there'd be like 2 or 3 people dancing to K-pop music, and it was just like y'all picked literally the worst space to do it. It wasn't like it was the idol space. It wasn't like it was a scheduled performance. It was just people blasting their K-pop and dancing, and it was like that pretty much the whole weekend. People are trying to take pictures. People are trying to socialize. Maybe not have the K-pop dance circle right here, because there were a lot of empty hallways. Yes, there were other things to do at the con, I would imagine. I didn't hear like about any events. I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't know who any of the guests were until I was sitting in the hotel room on Sunday reading like the pamphlet that we didn't even get. Our friends with the VIP passes got them. I feel like they weren't advertising the event very well, or like things to do at the event. So it almost makes sense that all like the common areas were so crowded, like fountain, atrium, gazebo, because it's like people probably didn't know what to do. Felt like we were all just kind of like packed in there like a bunch of animals. Parking was expensive. There are some rumors that the parking prices got hiked up for the weekend. I believe it. Very greedy if that is true. Another rumor that we have is bed bugs. Bed bugs was a rumor this year, and someone trying to say like, oh, they sent it out for testing, it's not bed bugs, which I'm like, how do you send it out for testing, first of all, and then get the results so quickly? And then even saying something like, it could have been a tick. I feel like a tick is worse. Me personally, shit stains and shit was another thing. Thought we left shitting in the gazebo behind. I guess we're just doing it anywhere now. And then just a lot of dress coding, which I think is crazy. Like, I know people got dress coded because like their skirts were too short, but I also know I saw people walking around with like their entire cheeks out. That's another thing. I feel like, how are you going to enforce that? I'm one of those people, like, I don't know why, but I love to read like the rules and like the policies for things. Like, anytime I've had a new job, like I read that whole handbook. It's more of like an I'm nosy thing than a like, I need to follow all the rules. But they were saying like, oh, it has to be 1 inch here, 2 inches there. And I'm just like, so which one of the volunteers is going to go out there with a ruler? Like, let's be so for real. And then of course, we were very entertained all weekend by the 21 plus Facebook group and the 21 plus Discord. Lots of people trying to get lucky over the weekend. And you know, I hope that they were successful, but there were some very degenerate conversations in that Discord. Worth a read. It wasn't all bad, of course. I mean, meeting up with my friends is always lovely. I was very happy to see the friends that I hang out with every year. And of course, we had fun with my boyfriend and the people that we roomed with. We all had a good time together. Like, the people that I was surrounding myself with, of course, were great. Some of my friends were super, super sweet and like were conspiring, like a little late birthday surprise for me because my birthday is the week before Katsucon. That was super sweet. That made me super happy. Love you guys for that. And then there was the Valentine's Day meetup. That was super fun. We didn't even really know it was going on. We were literally just walking around the fountain area and we saw like all these people crying there. And we're like, you know, like, we got time to kill. Let's check it out. And like, as we were walking closer and closer, like people just kept shoving like roses and candy and Valentine's in my hand. And I was like, oh. And we happened to have like my con ribbons and some like temporary tattoos to hand out. So it was so much fun to hand that out. And I'm going to show off some of the goodies that I got a little later. That's super sweet. Fun. We got like a backpack full of stuff out of it. Super great. Love that. That is like the con culture that I love. I got to see some of my friends perform in the idol space and they were absolutely phenomenal. Like, so great to see them. I did ask on Facebook, like, what do people think? And I talked to some of my mutuals as well. And the general consensus was it wasn't good this year. People felt unwelcome. They felt policed. They felt like it was over-regulating. They felt like the con and the convention center weren't doing enough to make it a good experience. There needs to be some kind of like cap on ticket sales, or they need to find a bigger venue. A lot of people were saying Katsucon has outgrown the Gaylord. I personally love the Gaylord. I think it's a beautiful place to have a fun event such as Katsucon, but like something's got to get worked out here because clearly I feel like the convention center and the con were not on the same page at all. I feel like there were a lot of issues on both sides. Yeah, I do think they need to cap sales. Now, a lot of people are saying attendance felt smaller and that there was a shrink in attendance. I'm not sure whether or not that's true or not because I certainly felt packed in there, but it was just very overcrowded. And maybe part of that was because so many like general hangout areas were blocked off and staff was very rude about like, don't stand there, don't stand there, don't stand there, like that type of thing. It's like, where the fuck do you want us to go? Honestly, it's like, we can't have hotel parties apparently. So like, what do you want from us? And then where it wasn't overcrowded, it was just very underwhelming. Mid was a word that was thrown around a lot. Just not really anything memorable. Honestly, I know we had a lot of fun last year, Katsucon 2024. That was probably the best Katsu. So part of me thinks like maybe I got my expectations set a little too high because we had such a good year last year, but then also hearing from so many other people that expectations were not met or they felt like they wasted their time or wasted their weekend. It made me feel better knowing I wasn't the only one, but at the same time it was disheartening because it was like, damn, like that sucked. Especially for me when Katsucon is my favorite part of the whole year. It was like a whole year of build up just for that. It was very disappointing. Of course, I will go back next year and hopefully I won't regret that decision. I do know like not every con is going to be the best one. Every con has their issues. Not everyone is going to be perfect. You win some, you lose some. That's just kind of what you have to expect. But yeah, I was definitely disappointed in the con itself. I was disappointed for other people. people, it wasn't good. If I'm being like completely honest, like if I had to rate this convention, 5 out of 10. And I'm only being so generous because I love Katsucon so much. And I wonder like how they're going to take it next year, if they're going to continue this approach of like being so policing and being so strict with everyone, or if they're just going to let people enjoy the con. I'm sure that it has had some flops in the past, and maybe I'm just lucky enough that this is only my first flop, but I don't want to continue to go to a flop con. So please let me know what you guys think. If you went to the con, what was your experience like? Did you feel underwhelmed? Did you feel unwelcome? Or did you have a good time? I'm just bummed, guys. Like, I'm really bummed. Please let me know all of your thoughts and opinions. Make sure that you like and subscribe so that you can become one of Ezra's faves, where I rant a lot. I talk about cons and conventions and this, that, and the third. I also really love video ideas. So if there is a topic that you would like me to discuss related to cons, anime, the cosplay community, anything of that sort, you can comment it or you can email it to me right here. Guys, my throat is hurting, so I'm gonna go and suffer. Okay, bye.